Sally. My name's Ashley. I'm a student physical therapist at Owens Community College, and today I'm going to be going over some stretches and strengthening exercises to help with your frozen shoulder. So if you see me peering off to the side, it's just because I have some notes over here. I've got a lot of information I want to go over with you, so some notes there to just help jog my brain. So first thing that I want to get into with you is a stretch that we call ball up the wall. So a couple of reasons why I want to do this stretch with you. First reason is because I noticed that during your evaluation, the PT measured your active range of motion, which is just by yourself going up on raising your arm up. I noticed that it was 110 degrees. So normally it's about 180 degrees of motion that we want with that motion. So this stretch will help to improve that and get you to that 180. Another reason why I chose to do this stretch with you is to help with getting your shirt over your head. That kind of involves sometimes doing some shimmying and having your hands above your head. So this will help to decrease the time of your dressing and to get you out the door quicker and so that you can do it independently. Okay, so for this exercise, you will need a free wall, which I will just peer off over here, probably. Is that good enough? Yes. Okay, so what you're gonna wanna do here, there we go, okay. I don't have a ball with me, so I'm just gonna kind of mimic having a ball here. So a couple of things I want you to keep in mind while doing this exercise is I want you to keep your feet, your shoulder width apart, flat on the floor. You're gonna keep your back straight. You want that good posture, and then your shoulders are gonna be nice and even as you're performing the stretch. So you're gonna have the ball here, whatever size ball is necessary, just as enough so that you can roll up and get a good stretch with it. Usually a bigger ball is usually helpful with this, so I recommend like an exercise ball, but whatever you have works. So you have the ball in your hands, and I just want you to gently roll the ball up the wall. I'm not a good mime. And then you can even kind of like lean into it a little bit. I just don't want you going backwards, because that's going to have all of that motion coming from your back instead of your arms. So you can lean into it a little bit more just to get a little bit more of that over the head motion, and that's totally fine. And then rolling it back down, take a break in between, and then to show you a couple more times, we'll roll the ball up the wall, and then you'll hold, and then rolling it back down. Now, if you don't have a ball at home, you could also just use the wall too, so you can just gently kind of move your hands up and walk into it. And then you'll feel a nice stretch. At the top, you'll hold, and then same thing, just gently coming back down. So for that stretch, I want you to hold that stretch for 30 seconds and repeat it 5 times with the 30-second hold, and then rest in between each stretch for about 60 seconds in between. It should create like a mild discomfort, but nothing that reproduces any pain. It should be like a moderate stretch. So one thing that I don't want you to do while you're doing this is, like I was showing you earlier, to lean that back. You want all of the motion in the ball going up the wall to come from your shoulders and your arms. So one thing that you can do while performing the stretch is to use that other hand and then feel the tissues that are being stretched. So you can place your hand kind of like where your back and your armpit meet back here. So as you can kind of see, you kind of want to come over here and kind of hug that shoulder, that scapula. So this big bone back here that kind of pops out all the time. Not directly on it, but kind of in your armpit here. And as you roll the ball up the wall, you'll feel a lot of your stretch coming from here, and that's what we're looking for. And then coming back down, you can feel it start to relax. So you should be able to feel that muscle start to lengthen as you're doing that. One thing that I will be doing while you're doing that stretch is I will also place my hand back there. I'll kind of be behind you, and then I'll just gently put my hand probably around this area. I want it kind of underneath your armpit because some of those muscles are underneath your armpit. So we want to be sure that you're stretching the right muscles. So put my hand there and I would feel lengthening of the muscles that we are trying to target. So one reason I would want you to stop doing the exercise would be if you were to start experiencing any pain while you're rolling the ball. It should be a pain-free exercise with like a mild stretch. It should be tolerable for that 30 seconds. Feeling like a good stretch, but not enough to where it's like overwhelming and it's painful to hold it there. It should be just very mild. Okay. So for my next exercise or stretch, I will have to put you over by a table. Okay. Whoops. All right. So for this next stretch, be off over here. Alrighty. You want a chair and like a nice level surface to put your arm on. And then, this stretch is called an external rotation table stretch, as you can see with the table. So a couple of reasons I decided to do this stretch with you is because I noticed during your evaluation you had some lack of motion in this area as well. You looked like you had 15 degrees of active range of motion for this motion, and typically normal range of motion for this is 90 degrees. So you kind of went back here, you're only able to perform a little bit, and that's what this stretch is for, is to be able to work on that so you can go to that 90 degrees. Another reason why I decided to do this stretch with you is to help with putting on jackets. So I know that sometimes when you're putting a jacket on, like let's say I've got the one arm in and then I'm coming back here to reach the other side of the jacket, this motion right here would be very hard if you can only go a couple of degrees like you can. So this will help to reduce any compensations of that, so any injury of like the other muscles that you're using instead of this motion to be able to grab that jacket and prevent any injury, and will also help you to independently draw so no one has to help you, and help you to get to work on time in the morning, because I'm sure that's probably not the best thing when you're trying to put your jacket on and it's cold outside and it takes you forever to just put a jacket on because you can't do that motion. So this will help with that. So for this exercise, like I said, you'll need a flat surface and a chair. And then for the stretch, you are going to have your forearm rest nice and gently here. And then all you're going to want to do here is you're going to just want to lean forward. And then as you can see, this external rotation here. I've got my arm here. I'm feeling like a nice stretch in the front of the arm. And then you're going to hold that and gently return. So for the stretch, I want you to slowly lean forward. Don't go racing into it. It should just be gentle. I want you to hold this for 30 seconds, repeat 5 times, holding for those 30 seconds, and then take a rest for 60 seconds in between. So to show you again, leaning forward, feeling that nice stretch holding. Now I want my arm to kind of be parallel with my shoulder here. I don't want it up too high like this or down here like this. I want it to be nice and even. Also not being sure to hike the shoulder up this way. That way you're rotating into it. You want everything to be nice and even as you're doing this stretch to actually stretch those muscles in the front there. And coming back. So one thing that I don't want you to do during this stretch is to be leaning, like I showed you, leaning towards that shoulder. So it would obviously be your right shoulder. I'm using my left right now to show you. But like I said, leaning into it, that would create the some slack in the muscles here and make the stretch ineffective. So we really want to make sure to just stay nice and parallel as we're coming down. You can even use the other hand if that helps. Leaning down, getting that good stretch and coming back up. So a couple of things to keep in mind as you're doing this stretch. Like I said, that 90-degree angle there. Also keeping your back nice and straight as you're coming here. I don't want you to round as you're coming down. It should all just come from your torso. Everything should be one unit. And then as you can see, I'm kind of sitting on the edge of my chair here. I know you probably can't see my feet, but my feet are also flat on the floor. That way I have some stability as I am leaning forward into the stretch. Alrighty. I'm just going to review your next exercises really quick, so I will be back in one moment. Hi there, Sally. It's Ashley again. I've switched my notes over to my phone, so if you see me looking at that, that's what that's about. So for the next stretch, I want to do what's called a sleeper stretch. And basically, a couple of reasons why I chose to do this stretch is because, again, I noticed that you had some lack of range of motion in this stretch. So I decided to do this stretch so you can effectively perform this motion and reduce your pain in the motion as well. And then the second reason I chose to do this stretch with you is to help you with like buttoning your shirt. So a lot of the time you kind of have to cross inside or even closing doors or something like that, this kind of motion, and also behind your back as well. So if you needed to like clip a bra on or anything like that, it will help with that to help you independently dress and to speed up the process. Okay, so to show you the stretch, I want you to be laying on your side, and you're gonna be laying on your right side. I'm using my left side right now just to show you, but you'll be laying on that right arm. Okay, so you want your palm facing away from your face, and then you're gonna use your other hand to push down. And you're gonna try pushing down until you feel like a gentle stretch again. And then you're gonna hold the stretch and then gently return. So to show you again, pulling down, holding. Now as you can see, my hand's not completely touching the table. I don't want you to focus on touching the table at all. I just want you to focus on getting this internal rotation here, just so you feel a gentle stretch. So I actually did a compensation there, and that's one of the things I'm going to address with you. So to show you again, properly this time. And as you can see, my arm is not going further down as nearly as down as it was before, because I was doing my compensation. So you want to keep those shoulders down and in line. You don't want one hiked up more than the other. And then coming back. So if you can see my position right now, my legs are bent just to create more stability, less rolling back and forth in your torso, so that you can really focus on that arm. And just for your comfort overall. My body is staying nice and close to the couch right here. You can do this like in bed, or if we're in clinic on the plinth as well, just so you have more surface area to kind of distribute. And to adjust the compensation that I was doing, I had my shoulder up a little bit more, so I was able to kind of come down to the table. You really want to keep your shoulders in line as you're laying down. That way you can really get that stretch without any compensations. Also making sure to keep contact with the table with the shoulder. You don't want to like lean, or like lift up away with like your head or anything. You just want to have everything come from that arm. You're using your other arm to push it and assist it, and then coming back. So, so one thing that I don't want you to do while performing this stretch is I don't want you to have your palm facing away from your face, so to show you what that looks like. This is not the stretch that I want you to do, to kind of have your palm facing towards you and coming down. You really want it facing away from you, everything flat, so you're pushing the top of your forearm here and actually stretching the muscles that we're trying to target. Okay, So one thing that you can do while performing the stretch to make sure that you're doing it correctly would be to put your hands like kind of behind your shoulder, like where your arm meets your torso, kind of like in that armpit place that we were talking about, or even up here behind your shoulder. And as you're coming down, I could already feel it. You can feel those muscles start to lengthen and start to get longer as you are pushing the arm further down, and that's what we are looking for here. That will tell you that you're performing the stretch correctly. And then something that I will do while you're doing the exercise is I will also have my hand there. So I'll also have my hand kind of like at the top of your shoulder, almost behind it, and feeling you internally rotate. So one reason I would want you to stop this exercise would be if you were to find it painful again. It should be that moderate stretch like we were talking about. It should be mild, tolerable, but a little bit of discomfort should be expected, just because it is a stretch and we really do want to stretch those muscles, but not enough for it to reproduce any pain. Also, if you were unable to keep your elbow at 90 degrees, so if you had it kind of like at a 45 degree or something like that, where it's closer to you, it wouldn't really work as effectively. So we really want to maintain that 90 degree angle with that arm and elbow and pushing down. And then that's that for that exercise. Okay, so going into some strengthening exercises, I'm just gonna rearrange my setup, so I will be right back with you. Hi there, Sally, it's Ashley again. I've reviewed some of my notes, and the next exercise that I want to do with you is actually a strengthening exercise, so we're getting into the strengthening portion of these. And this is called TheraBand shoulder adduction. So a couple of reasons why I chose to do this is because during your initial evaluation, I noticed that you were a 4 out of 5 in this. That means you can perform the full range of motion against gravity with moderate resistance. This exercise will help to get you to a 5 out of 5 so you can perform it with maximum resistance. And another reason why I chose to do this exercise with you is to help you to get back to work. I know at work you're probably lifting boxes up and down all day, so this will help to like kind of keep boxes to you and keep everything nice and close to you as you are lifting and putting down boxes. So for this exercise, I'm actually going to show you on this door over here. I don't have a TheraBand, but just imagine that I've got a band over the top of the door here. So I would have my band over the top of the door. You would tie a knot in the band, and it should help it to not snap back at you. Make sure it's a nice and thick knot so that it doesn't actually come back at you. So I would have my TheraBand here, and I'd have my arm nice and straight. I want it high above me. You want some slack. You don't want it to be too tight so it doesn't snap. So you have your TheraBand, it should be nice and relaxed here, and then you're just gonna pull it down to your hip. And then nice in return coming up, making sure that the band doesn't come back at you. You really wanna be in control of the band here. So again, to show you, you're nice and controlled coming down, and then coming back up. And then to show you again, down and coming back up. Okay. So, a couple of things I want you to keep in mind for this exercise. Again, I want you to keep your shoulder, I don't know if I went over this with you actually. Your feet should be shoulder width apart. You should have like a slight bend in your knees as you're doing this, just to not keep it super straight and locked. And your feet should be flat on the ground. I want you to maintain good posture during that exercise. So as you could see, I had my hand kind of on my stomach just to make sure that my spine was nice and stable. I contract my abs. That way my spine is stabilized and supported as I am pulling the band down to my hip. And then I also want you to keep in mind not to hike up that shoulder as you are performing that adduction. and coming back down. It should be nice and straight. See how my shoulders are pretty level here? And coming back down, really trying not to do this. Or leaning with your trunk as well. So one thing I don't want you to do during the exercise, like I was showing you, is to lean away with your trunk and come back down, or to hike up that shoulder. You want it nice and level. Everything should be straight. All of the motion should be coming from that arm and shoulder. So one thing that you can do as you're performing this exercise would be to place your hand in your armpit. And as you're pulling the shoulder back down, you should feel like the muscles kind of like in here and even on your torso a little bit back here really start to contract, and that is what we are looking for. While you're performing the exercise, I will place my hand on like the back of your shoulder. I should be able to feel the muscles contract under my hand to tell me that you are performing the exercise correctly. One reason I would want you to stop the exercise is if you are unable to maintain a straight line of pull. So if you are like really wobbly with it and you're coming back and forth as you're pulling the TheraBand down, could mean that the TheraBand is a little too strong for you, and we can modify it to be lighter. That way you aren't doing those compensations and aren't doing rapid movements at one time to reduce the risk of any injury. Okay, so for your next exercise, I want to address your abduction of the shoulder, which is just pulling away, versus coming back with the adduction. We're actually pulling away from the body now. So one reason I chose to do this exercise with you is because during your initial evaluation, your physical therapist noted that you're a 4- out of 5. So it's kind of like the 4 out of 5, but instead of being able to perform that full range of motion with moderate resistance, you're only able to perform a part of that range of motion with moderate resistance. So this exercise will help you to be able to do full range of motion, and that with hopefully maximum resistance over time, but to start off with a little bit of resistance right now. And the second reason I chose to perform this exercise with you is to help you to return back to work. Again, like I said, you are lifting boxes at work, I'm sure, full of files, so this will help to increase your strength to be able to actually put things up onto a shelf and grab things off of the shelf as well. Okay, so for this exercise, I want you to be standing. We'll start off with a 1-pound weight to start you off with, just because we need to get an idea of how much weight you can actually tolerate with the amounts that we're doing. And this exercise, we will be doing 4 sets of 5 with a high intensity, so your muscles should be tired afterwards. Shouldn't hurt, but they should be fatigued afterwards. Okay, so to show you here, I will have you standing straight with your feet flat on the ground, and your knees are nice and straight, and your feet are shoulder width apart. So for this exercise, you're gonna have your back nice and straight. You don't want to lean at the back or come back or lean backwards or forwards. Your weight should be evenly distributed throughout your body. You're gonna have weights on both sides of your arms, and then I'm just gonna have you gently come up away from your body and then coming back down. So you don't really want to go over the shoulders. That would be, you can, but we really want to maintain your thumbs straight up towards the ceiling and coming back down. I really don't want you to come straight over. That would start doing like a different exercise. Just come to about a little bit over your head, almost in a Y formation, and coming back down to the hips. So as you can see, I want you to be nice and controlled doing this. I don't want you flailing your arms at all, but you're gonna have a nice control as you're coming up and coming back down. Okay, so one thing that you can do while performing this exercise would be to put your hand on the top of your shoulder. As you are coming up, you should feel the muscles here start to contract, and that will tell you that you are performing the exercise correctly. I will also be doing the same thing to make sure that you're performing the exercise correctly, really looking to see for that muscle contraction of the muscles that we are trying to target. One reason I would want you to stop performing the exercise is if you were to not be able to keep your shoulders down. So if you were to start coming up and then your shoulder starts to hike up like that, it should really just be coming nice from your arm. And as you can see, my shoulders are still level and coming back down. We really want those muscles that we're trying to target to do all of the work, and if you were hiking your shoulder, those scalenes would start activating, and we are not looking to activate those right now as we are focusing on the shoulder. Okay, and then for your last exercise, I'm going to be using the door again, and we're also going to be using a TheraBand, which I don't have, but what I would want you to do is I want you to open the door, tie the TheraBand around the knob of the other side of the door that you're not going to be looking at, and then you're gonna feed the TheraBand around the door and close it so that they're hanging on your side of the door, and the knot is on the side of the door that you are not facing, so it's kind of feeding through the door. That way it doesn't snap back at you as you're doing this. So this exercise is called shoulder extension with a TheraBand, and one reason I chose to do this exercise for you is because you were again a 4 out of 5 in strength in that in that motion. So this will help to get you to a 5 out of 5 so that you can perform this with maximum resistance. The second reason why I chose to do this exercise with you is to help with being able to pull boxes towards you, so like heavy boxes in towards you as you're picking things up, just to help with good body mechanics, and so that you can kind of drag things towards you as well. I'm sure those boxes are heavy with files or anything else, so this will help with that. So for this exercise, I want you to do this in 4 sets of 5 and take a 60-second break in between. You're going to be doing this at a high intensity again, so it shouldn't fatigue the muscles, but it shouldn't create any pain. So to show you, I'll face the door again. So I would have my TheraBands around the door. I'll hang on the ends of it. And then all I want you to do is pull against the resistance of the TheraBand. So you'll pull back away from your hips. You don't want to come too far back, but enough to where you feel that resistance right there. And then gently come forward as well, controlling your arm the whole time. To show you again, coming back. And then straight forward, really controlling the motion every time that you are coming back and coming forward. So a couple of things to keep in mind. I want you to keep your posture nice and straight like I was showing you. You shouldn't have any like rounding of the back or anything as you're performing this. Your arms should be completely straight. As you saw, my hands and arms were completely straight throughout the whole showing of the exercise. And then your feet should be flat on the floor, knees slightly bent, and shoulder width apart. So one thing that you can do during the exercise is to put your hand on the back portion of your shoulder. Excuse me. Back portion of your shoulder, and as you pull the band back, you should feel the muscles under your hands start to contract. You can even kind of come up and around this way, and you should really feel those muscles start to contract as you're pulling back. This will tell you that you're performing the exercise correctly, and then I will also do the same thing. I'll have my hands kind of like back here, almost underneath your armpit, but not quite, pulling back, and right there. And then this will tell me, if I feel those muscles start to contract, it will tell me that you are performing the exercise correctly, and will also tell you that the exercise is being performed correctly. So one reason I would want you to stop the exercise is if you were to be pulling the band with like a bent elbow almost, so if you were to be doing this, we really want all of the motion coming from the shoulder and not from the elbow, because the elbow's not affected, it's the shoulder that's affected. So elbows being bent would be exercising a different arm muscle group. We really want it to just be the shoulder, so keep those elbows nice and straight, and everything should just be coming from here. Okay, and then going into your HEP, I have to find it really quick. I'll find your HEP and then I will explain it to you, and that should be today's visit then. So I will be right back and I will review it and then show you, and we will go from there. Hi there again, Sally. I've got your HEP all set up for you. So this is what your HEP looks like. I will be emailing it to you. All right, so for this HEP, I'm gonna have you do that external rotation stretch. For the stretch, like I showed you, you'll be sitting on the edge of the chair, resting your forearm on the table, keeping your elbow at 90 degrees, and leaning forward until you feel a mild discomfort of a stretch, but tolerable. So this stretch should only, again, produce a tolerable stretch, and then once you achieve it, hold the stretch for 30 seconds and repeat it 5 times with a 60-second rest in between. Perform the stretch every other day once on the chosen days every other day. So one thing that I want you to keep in mind, some of these stretches and exercises could produce falling. So if your feet are not flat on the floor during this exercise, the leaning of the stretch could cause a fall. So if a fall does occur, call your providing physical therapist, and if serious injury occurs, call emergency services. So to show you the stretch, like we showed you before, I'll have to put you back over here again. You'll have a table and a chair. So my elbow's at 90 degrees, resting my forearm on here, my feet are flat on the floor, and my back is going to be straight, and then I'm just going to gently lean forward until I feel a tolerable stretch, and hold that for 30 seconds, and then coming back up. So again, gently coming forward, feeling that stretch, and then coming back up. So like I said, I want you to repeat that stretch 5 times with a 60-second break in between. Okay, oh goodness. Okay. So for your next exercise, I want you to do that standing abduction with the weight. So that's gonna look like this. And you can do it with your left arm, but we're really focusing on the right arm. So with your right arm, starting at your side, weight in hand, your thumb is pointed away from you and up towards the ceiling as you're coming up. Raise your right arm up away from your body, keeping the arm straight and then controlling it as you're coming back down. So perform this exercise in 4 sets of 5 repetitions, taking a 60-second rest in between sets. Should be performed at a high intensity that fatigues the muscles but does not reduce any pain. Perform this exercise 2 to 3 times per week, twice a day on the chosen days that you choose. Just be sure not to do 3 times every day and then go off for 4 days and then 3 times. You want to really break up those exercises in between to let the muscle actually recover from the exercise. So if your knees are left completely straight during the exercise, it could cause the knees to buckle, resulting in a fall. So if a fall does occur, call your providing physical therapist, and if a serious injury occurs, then call emergency services. So to show you the exercise, like we said, if you don't have any weights at home, you could even use like a soup can, or if you get to it, you can actually reproduce the weight with like other like different grocery items or something like that. Just something that you can hold in your hand that has weight, but enough weight to where it matches up with what we're doing in therapy. So you could even like use a soup can for these just to start off with, or like water bottles or something like that. And you'll have your feet shoulder width apart, knees are slightly bent, your feet are flat on the ground, and then your thumbs are going to be pointing away from you. Your weights are going to be in your hand, and then you're going to slowly come up into that Y formation, and then coming back down, really controlling it both ways, coming up and down. you are in control of the weight here, so it shouldn't be overtaking you as you're doing this. Coming back down. And then my back is nice and straight, my posture is good, my shoulders are being level throughout the whole exercise. So one is not coming up, I'm not leaning, I'm not coming backwards or forwards. It's all nice and straight and all the motion is just coming from my shoulders. Okay, so that concludes today's therapy visit. If you have any further follow-up questions, go ahead and let me know. If you have any questions over these HEPs, like with the standing abduction with weight, or the external rotation table stretch, let me know, and we can go over that. Do you have any questions? Perfect. Okay, so we will see how these exercises and stretches do with you going forward. Give me some feedback during your next visit or whoever sees you next, and then we will go from there. Again, if you have any questions, just get a hold of me. I will email these to you, and then you can just respond with any questions or follow-up things that you have to ask me. It was nice to meet you today, Sally. I'm really, sorry, I lost my words. It was nice to meet you today, Sally. I hope to see you again, and hopefully these exercises help you. So yes, it was wonderful to meet you, and I will see you next time. Thank you.